Aaron and Kat, and this is our bus stew.
Come check it out. So we're originally from Seattle, Washington. And after graduating from college and working for a couple of years, we were just disenchanted with the rat race and constantly paying bills and never being able to travel, which is what prompted us to buy our bus, which we got on Craigslist.
Yeah, Craigslist. So Stu is a 2005 Ford E450 school bus with a Thomas bus body, and he had 139,000 miles when we bought him. And I think in the last 3 years, we've put about 30,000 miles on it, traveling most of the western half of the US. It's a diesel, and we get about 10 to 12 miles a gallon, depending on wind and road conditions and hills especially. We're not very fast on hills, so you can just go around kindly.
Yeah. And Stu is 22 feet long, which is 14 feet interior usable space, basically. A lot of people ask that. And then the interior width is like 7.5 feet.
Yeah.
And like Aaron said, yeah, we've been living in Stu on the road for coming up on 3 years now. All right, so now we're gonna show you around some of the features of the bus. And first up is our bathroom. We did decide to build an entire bathroom stall in our 100 square foot bus because it's convenient, and I'm not trying to have Aaron on the toilet in the middle of the bus while I'm cooking dinner, or have to go outside all the time. It was too much. So we put in a bathroom. It's got a Nature's Head composting toilet, which we love. I know it's kind of a polarizing topic of A, whether you like composting toilets, and B, which one is the best. It's Nature's Head. But yeah, we've used it every single day for 3 years, no problems. Other than ones we created with letting in gnats.
Yeah.
But
which was our fault. And one of the it has a small little fan that sucks out the air and helps composting. And if that goes out, it's really bad, which we found out.
That's the only time it smells.
Yeah. So the fan went out, but we emailed Nature's Head, and within a couple days, they shipped us out 2 new fan units.
Customer service is on point.
Incredible customer service. So.
But yeah, other than like a few minor hiccups, it has worked great, and we're super happy with it. And next up is our kitchen space. So we have obviously a nice sink here, and we only have 21 gallons of fresh water, which in hindsight, we should have done more. But we do have some spare water containers that are tucked under the bed, so we've got like an additional 14 gallons in those. So it works. And then our gray water tank just unscrews from the bottom of the sink, and we can carry it to a dump station and just dump it out there, which is super easy. And then as far as cooking, we just have a Coleman 2-burner camp stove that we pull out of the cabinet when we want to cook. We just hook it up, turn on the fan, open some windows, and it works perfectly fine. And then we have a fridge and a freezer, which is a recent upgrade. We initially had a dorm fridge like this, it didn't go well. Then we had a chest freezer that we converted into a fridge, but that obviously there was no freezer at that point, it was just a fridge.
It worked really well for like 2 years.
It worked really well, but everything was just piled inside and it was a huge mess, so like every time you had to take something out, you had to take everything out. It was a problem. Anyways, so we finally got this one when the chest freezer died, and it does have a freezer, and it works pretty well so far. It's only been a few months, so we'll see.
Cubes.
Yeah, we have ice cubes. It's so nice.
Oh.
It's amazing. After 2 years without it, game changer. So usually we can store about a week's worth of food in this little fridge. We can obviously go for longer if we don't want to eat like fresh vegetables and things like that. But we like to try and be healthy. So usually once a week we go to the store and restock. Another really important thing that we wanted to build into the bus was a ton of storage, because in such a small space, everything kind of has to have its own place or it gets really cluttered in here really fast, and that would drive me insane. So we built our couch. Everything underneath this is storage. All 3 panels of it lift up, and then there's storage down there. Well, one's our battery bank, but we'll talk about that in a sec. So yeah, tons of storage down there. Then we have our clothes stored under the bed. On like the front facing side, we each have 2 drawers, and that is the majority of our clothing. There are some coats and sweatshirts and other like not very often used things stored around elsewhere. But yeah, that's most of our clothes storage right there. And then in our bed headboard, we actually have even more storage. So that's where we store like our work stuff. There's like some games, extra blankets and things in there. And it also has a handy little shelf on top, which is where we can set like our water or chapstick or whatever at night, which is super convenient. And then we have our big pantry and kind of a medicine cabinet, I guess, down there. So that's got all of our food, our stove, pots and pans, other cooking devices. And then down below is kind of like medicine cabinet, like I said, and then our big laundry compartment at the bottom. And then we've also got a couple of big shelves that hold, we've got like our toiletries, bathroom stuff up there, and then like small kitchen items, like spices and spoons and things like that. And then this is kind of our big miscellaneous / pasta holder shelf.
So many pasta boxes.
Yeah, it kind of just evolved to hold pasta after we ran out of space in the pantry. But, you know, it works. It keeps it out of our hair. And then we've got one last little compartment that holds our dishes and cups and stuff like that up above the stove. And then our junk drawer, of course. That's where we like our silverware, chargers, lighters, anything that doesn't have a home elsewhere pretty much goes in the drawer.
As far as power goes, what we power is mostly our fridge, and that is running on 120 volt. Which we have an inverter for, and then pretty much everything else is usually 12 volt, and that's mostly just lighting and our water pump and
the toilet fan.
Tiny little, barely pulls any energy, but very important. And then phones, laptops, other things, and that's all powered from 2 160 watt Renogy solar panels on the roof, which go into a charge controller and then into our battery bank. We have 3 100 amp hour sealed AGM batteries, and they've been holding up okay, but we kind of want to get lithium soon, so that's
on the upgrade list.
That's a whole nother story, but for now it's been working great, and it powers everything we need. We also have a couple Jackery power stations, which are super handy if we want to park in the shade especially, and then just flip the panels out. They're like little portable panels.
Or if we have a couple of shady days in a row, then we need to power our fridge with it.
Yeah, so that's good to have spare backup power, or just if we want to park in the shade and not have the panels out in the sun, which are, you know, the bus is in the sun all the time. If it gets too hot with that, it's nice to be able to have the option. So that's basically our power setup. All right, so for the outside of the bus, it's pretty standard. We didn't do too much on the outside. We used to have an awning, but that's a whole another story. We ended up taking it off. It broke. We used just basic camo green spray paint, Rust-Oleum, I think, and it's held up pretty well. We touch it up every once in a while, but for 3 years, I'd say it's pretty good. We have quite a lot of under bed storage that's accessed from the outside of the bus, and we specifically got Stu with the side door on the back. It used to be a wheelchair lift, and we really wanted that plus the main back emergency door like most buses have, so we could access from multiple sides, because it's kind of like a U shape underneath the bed. From our interior storage takes up like the front, and then the rest of it is just access from the outside doors. And we just have mostly like outdoor gear, so we have a lot of paddle boards, climbing gear, hiking gear, a couple skateboards that we hardly ever use, slack lines, bike tires,
drum set.
My drum set, which is pretty cool. I made a suitcase drum set, which is super cool, and I used to play that on the street before COVID hit.
And there's like tools and stuff under there.
Yeah.
It's basically just our garage space, essentially.
Yeah. And then even more storage up on the rooftop deck we made. We made that mainly for just hanging out, stargazing, sunbathing, hanging out with friends and stuff. But it also acts as storage for our big spare tire That's always fun to get up and down. And then our 2 bikes. So we just take the front tire off and put both bikes up there and strap them down. And then in the front of the deck is where our 2 solar panels are. And those both also tilt up too for lower sun rays in the winter months.
So a lot of people ask how we fund our lifestyle and how we make money on the road. And it has kind of evolved over the last few years. So I started out doing freelance writing pretty much as soon as we moved into the bus. And Aaron was busking with his drum set, as he mentioned briefly. And then we kind of ran out of money. So we decided to stop in Boulder, Colorado for a summer and work full-time seasonal jobs. So that just replenished our savings, gave us some spending money. And then after that, we continued on our way. I was still freelance writing and editing. Aaron was still busking. And then obviously when COVID hit, unfortunately, Aaron could no longer busk because that wouldn't be safe. So he transitioned into doing freelance like graphic design, video editing, and animation work, and has been pretty successful since lockdown started. So we're actually able to completely fund our lifestyle with that freelance work and also put a little bit of money away so we can hopefully do some international traveling eventually. And we wanted to talk a little bit about our home office setup too, because that's another question, you know, how do you work in 100 square feet? And we have these tables that we built. They're basically individual desks, and each one has a little bracket sort of thing on the front of the couch, and then a pipe leg, and then the tabletop goes on, so it swivels around. Super easy to work on, and they're not so big as to be in the way, plus we can stash them away behind the couch when we're not using them. And then I also sometimes work on the bed because it's comfy. So I have a little like laptop tray thing that I work on over there. And finally, we wanted to touch on our favorite part of bus life, because that's another question we get a lot. So basically our favorite part is meeting people on the road. So as you can imagine, this last year has been kind of sad for us because we can't meet that many people.
Yeah.
But you know, we've been vaccinated, hopefully everybody else is too, and then we can all get back to partying. We also like to just go places. Like I said before, we didn't have time to go anywhere or do anything, because you know, we would have like 2 weekends off per year, and then like the weather would be crappy, or I don't know, one thing or another, you could never really do anything. So we just like to tour around the country and stop at anywhere that looks fun. Like we've been to a lot of national parks, a couple of state parks, a lot of breweries before COVID.
Which we're looking forward to getting back to.
Pretty stoked on that. So that's a great way to like learn about a new place, you know, so visit a brewery and see what their beer tastes are and probably meet some people. So yeah, just going places and meeting people and having the freedom to like spend time together and spend time doing stuff that we want to do has been probably the biggest thing that bus life has changed for us. So alright guys, well thanks for touring Stu. We'll see you on the road. Bye.
Bye.